All right. Can you hear me okay? Everyone hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend the day with us, or the hour with us. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Ken Tucker, and we're going to be talking about MerryChef technology today. Um, I have to ask the question, what's the first manufacturer that comes to your mind when you think of a speed oven? Trick question.
I will not.
Okay, I'm going to talk about history today at MerryChef because I think a lot of times people think MerryChef is a little bit newer to the game, and there's another manufacturer that a lot of times people associate with a speed oven. Uh, MerryChef's history is a pretty long history.
It's like, are you
The
fucking
company was
kidding me? I fell asleep for 5 minutes. I woke up and it was over.
sorry. Okay, the company was founded in 1950 by a gentleman by the name of Christopher L. Tibbs. He was basically an engineer, and he developed the basically what's called modular frequency, and later that made its way into microwave technology. So the founder of MerryChef started this in 1950, and then in 1958, MerryChef released the first commercial, the world's first commercial pure microwave oven. So they've been doing this for a long time in the microwave world. In 1968, MerryChef released the world's first combination convection and microwave oven. So the technology has been around for a long time. 1999 is another breakthrough for MerryChef technology. That's when they started adding return grease ducts, and they added a catalyst to the oven. That's basically the catalytic converter and the ventless technology that we're all familiar with today. So they started this back in 1999. So a little bit of the history. Obviously, there's been many evolutions from the beginning. The original high-speed ovens were the size of a pinball machine, and now obviously they're countertop equipment and a lot smaller and much more advanced in technology. Today, we're going to talk a lot about the MerryChef Connex. If you didn't get a chance to see this at NRA or your local reps test kitchens, I suggest you do so. And if you can join us at NAFM, we'll certainly have a full display of them. Okay. Sorry, camera just shut off for a second. Okay. Right to the side here, we have our previous generation MerryChef. This is our E2S. It's still available, still a great oven. The big difference now with the new technology in MerryChef, this is what's called a Connex 16. The new releases are a Connex 12, which is a 12-inch cavity, and the Connex 16, which is a 16-inch cavity. What does the Connex mean? It stands for connectivity. These ovens are born digital. So straight out of the box, this oven is Wi-Fi capable. In the previous generations, Wi-Fi was available in the older MerryChef, but that was an option or an accessory, and you had to order it when you placed your purchase order for the oven. Now the Connex comes standard with Wi-Fi connectivity. The Wi-Fi connectivity, I heard you mention C-stores earlier. It really makes a lot of sense for the multi-unit operators, large chain accounts, people who really appreciate data. In the past, we would basically have to take a USB and load recipe files, pull data off the oven as needed by USB. Works great. Sorry, it froze up on me there. You guys seen okay? So in the old days, we had to use USB to load recipe files and to bring files off the oven, which works great. But for a multi-unit operator, if you've got 400 locations, 500 locations, that can be quite cumbersome to email a file out, send that file to corporate trainers or somebody to go physically load the file into the oven. With the connectivity and the Connex ovens, with Wi-Fi, a corporate office can populate or send out a new menu file or new recipe file and send that to 400 locations in a keystroke. So it's a lot easier to do that. Some of the other data that I can gather from the oven, I can also pull up usage information. It keeps track of all of the oven functions. I can keep track of every single door opening. I can keep track of the cleaning process. I can keep track of the filters. I can keep track of the magnetrons and the temperatures that the oven's running. So if you have any abnormalities, you've got really hot kitchens that could possibly damage the oven, that data is available up front. So it's a lot of useful information. Passive data, service logs, all those things are available to the operator from the Wi-Fi capability. Right now, the Wi-Fi connectivity is standard for 1 year. It comes with the oven for free. After that, it's a subscription-based, and there's a 3-tier subscription base. I won't get into that. It's on the website, but Depends on what the end user operator wants to see. Some of the other changes with the Connex oven over previous generations of ovens, and I don't know if you can see this screen well enough. I don't have this one on, but obviously the biggest change is the 7-inch high definition screen. This screen is larger and much more clear than the previous generations. It's a reactive screen. So what does that mean? When I'm going through settings and everything else, the reactive screen is not like the old heat sensitive screen. So in the old heat sensitive screen, you had to sit there and press a down arrow or an up arrow to scroll through. You couldn't swipe like you could on your phone. And also a heat sensitive screen tends to not work as well with the gloves. You know, you've seen people in the operations with gloves trying to get something to work, and it's trying to pick up the heat from your fingers. The new screens work very, very well with gloves. They're just like your cell phone, much easier to see. I wish I could zoom in a little bit closer, but this is what's called a blackout screen. A lot of our other manufacturers have gone to this platform so that you get much more vibrant colors. It's easier to see across the room. It's easier on your eyes. So that's one of the major changes with the oven, the connectivity, the 7-inch high definition screen. And one of the other things you'll notice, if you look at the older door styles, very good design, but you can see the difference in the new door handle compared to the old door handle. Even when I open and close this door, if you can hear it shut and you open this one, hear this one shut, it's a much more beefy door. The hinges are stronger, the door handle's stronger, and that's one of the upgrades for the oven. I don't know if you can see down here at the bottom, the old USB in this oven was on this side, so it's actually above the heat. So over time, the heat migration, I've never really had any issues with it or failures, but the engineers thought it'd be much better and cooler, so the USB connection is down at the bottom. What that means is if your customers do not want the Wi-Fi connectivity, they can still operate the oven just as we did in the past. You can load all your pictures, recipe files, sounds and audio for ringtones, anything you want can be loaded to the USB, as well as service data logs and information about the oven. Why my camera keeps going to sleep on me. This is our 16-inch Connex. There are two new releases. There's the Connex 12 and the Connex 16. The Connex 12 gets its name because the cavity of the oven is a 12-inch cavity. It's a 12 by 12 cavity. The 16-inch or the Connex 16 has a 16-inch cavity. That's one of the other features of our ovens that when we compare it to we're looking at competition, we have one of the smallest footprints for the largest cavities in the industry. Our 12-inch Connex, or even the E2S that you see here, is a 12-inch cavity with a 14-inch wide footprint. Very, very small footprint. The 16-inch Connex with a 16-inch cavity is 18.1 inches. It's just almost 18 inches. So again, very small footprint, for the size of the cavity. The other thing that's really unique about our ovens, these are zero clearance ovens. So I can put an oven right next to this on either side. I have bumpers on the back of the oven where I can push the oven all the way back against the wall. The only thing I really need to keep accessible is this front door. And that basically what that is, that's your fan, or that's the air intake to cool your electronic components. With that being said, one of the great features that MerryChef has been building into their ovens for as long as I've been the rep is one of the number one failing items in a high-speed oven or accelerated cooking platform is the magnetron, which is basically the microwave. Magnetrons, if they run hot, they'll tend to fail over a period of time. That's not a common failure, but what generally happens if you get a magnetron failure is it overheats. The connectivity can give you that information if you're on Wi-Fi, but the number one cause of that is the air intake that cools all the electronic components. If it's starved for fresh air, then the oven overheats, and then when the oven overheats, it overheats the magnetrons, and that's where you have the issue. MerryChef, on our ovens, we put the filter right on the front of the oven. It's basically to block all the debris and dust going in. You wipe this thing down. It's magnetic, so the oven's telling me right now, put the filter back on. It will not operate without the filter. It's magnetic. It sticks right back on the front. But if I take that off and wipe it down with a towel, and that's actually in the cleaning procedures, which I'll discuss later, and then close the door back, I'm ready to go. A lot of our competitors have that filter in a different location. And I hate to say that comment, but a lot of times out of sight, out of mind. If that filter's back here in the back or on the side and nobody pays attention to it, it's going to get clogged with dust and it's going to get clogged with debris. and that heats the oven up, that heats the magnetrons up, and that's what causes your failures. Very easy to clean. When you look at the inside of our cavity, you've got cove corners. Basically, at the end of the night, once I do my cool down process, I can lift out my cook plate and then wipe everything down. I'm going to go through the cleaning procedure maybe at the end so you can see it. The oven itself will tell you every single step to take in the cleaning procedure, all the way down to the finish. It'll cool down. From a cleaning standpoint, we'll get into that a little bit later. But from options and accessories, that's really the big change on the Connex is the screen, the door, relocation of that, the connectivity and Wi-Fi, and like that. Again, this is the Connex 16. It's a 16-inch cavity with an 18-inch wide footprint. The Connex 12 is a 12-inch cavity with a 14-inch wide footprint. The Connex 12 is available in two models, the standard power. There's a standard power and there's a high power unit. Your standard power for most customers is all you're ever going to need. The customer that really needs the high power is a high volume, very busy place that seconds make every difference in their check times. The standard power unit on the 12-inch Connex is 1,000 watts of microwave and 2,200 watts of convected heat. The standard power runs on a 20 amp circuit on 208 single phase, and the high power.
The other one was.
Yeah, I can turn this a little bit. Sorry, I'm getting some comments that we should turn this over a little bit. Is that better? Is that better? You can see this one? I don't have this one plugged in.
A little more, a little more, a
A little
little more.
more? Okay. This is the previous generation, so I didn't fire it up today. But this is the same footprint. It's a 12-inch cavity, 14-inch wide footprint. The Connex 12, this is the E2S. The Connex 12 has a 7-inch screen like this one, but in the same footprint. Like I said, we have a standard power and a high power unit in the Connex 12. The standard power is 1,000 watts microwave, 2,200 watts of convected power, and that runs on a, I don't know what, again, that runs on a 20 amp circuit at 208 single phase. Our high power unit, Connex 12, is at 2,000 watts of microwave, 2,200 watts of convected heat, and that runs on a 30 amp circuit at 208 single phase. The 16-inch Connex is 2,000 watts of microwave and 3,200 watts of convected heat. It runs on the same 30 amp as our high power. It's a 30 amp 208 single phase, and that's the power requirements. The ovens are available. The Connex is available in a stainless finish like you see here, or a carbon black finish. We used to have a red powder coat finish in the past. It wasn't very popular. It sells more in Europe, but we have these in stainless and carbon black. So that's basically the specs on the oven. When you look at the 12 and the 16, I'm going to send some food through, and we're going to talk some more about some of the features of the oven, and we're going to get started. A quick question: anybody make the grands or the smaller cinnamon rolls at home in your oven on the weekends? Not the best thing for you, but that's about a 13 to 17 minute cook time at a 350-degree oven in your traditional home. If you're not familiar with rapid cook technology, we're talking up to 20 times faster than traditional convection oven cooking. So I'm going to go ahead and put something in. We're going to do some cinnamon rolls. I go to my icon-driven screen. One of the things you'll notice, and I think for a lot of you have seen some of the other presentations, particularly our last one with the combo therm, we made a move several years back to make every single control intuitive, but also the similarity and conformity of the controls. So if you operate one piece of equipment in our kitchen, you can walk to another one and you're very familiar with. Very big on icon driven. If I go into my settings, right now I have this in a manual mode. Manual mode is used for developing recipes, creating recipes. But if you've got let's say a C-store, quick serve restaurant, and you've got all your recipes programmed, I can put this in what's called quick serve mode. And what that does is it eliminates all the settings and gears so that I don't have somebody that's been on the staff for 2 days getting creative and changing the actual formula for the recipe. So once I program everything in the oven, I go to a quick serve mode, and then I'm 100% icon driven. So right now I have a few items programmed here and press and go. Basically, I just go in and I select an item. So I'm gonna select, my cinnamon rolls. It's gonna ask me if the product's in the oven. We'll load that in the oven. A minute and 40 seconds. I'm gonna run a bunch of different stuff in the oven so you can see, but I really want you to understand the technology. And if you're not familiar with the technology of speed ovens, particularly the MerryChef, this oven is utilized 3 different technologies at one time. The oven uses convected air, which is basically a fan spinning hot air ring. It uses impingement air, which if you're not familiar with impingement technology, you're forcing air through a nozzle. I generally compare it to running your garden hose without a sprayer on the end. And then when you put a sprayer on the end, it forces it down to a much tighter stream. That's impingement air. It's forcing hot air through a nozzle. And it's also using microwave as an assist. I do not have to use microwave on this oven. I need at least 10% fan to keep the air moving, but I can run this thing earlier in the day, let's say a coffee shop. If I wanted to run this at 350 degrees and bake off some cookies, I could do that. Now, granted, we're not going to have the production capabilities or the volume to keep up with a large facility to bake off cookies, but the capability is there if you want to. Bread items and things like that, I tend not to go over 65, 70%. It doesn't affect the bread up front, but it does affect the bread long term from a quality standpoint, in my opinion. A lot of people have a hesitancy to go towards microwaves because of the technology that we've all grown up with in our house. You put something in the oven and you put it in your you put something in your microwave oven at home and you press the button and it's got that turntable that spins on the bottom. The reason that turntable's on there is your microwave at home locks onto, every microwave locks onto fats, sugars, and water molecules. So those water, fat, and sugar molecules, you can see that, okay, that's a minute and 40 seconds to get the cinnamon rolls out, which I'll put some icing on them now. I wish we had smell-o-vision and I wish we had taste vision, but hopefully all your sandwiches are coming in as we speak. But the technology of microwave, in the past, a microwave locks on the fat, sugars, and water. So when you put a piece of food in your microwave at home, your microwave runs 100% of the time. So when it finds one of those sections or parts of the food that has high sugar, high water, or high fat, it tends to lock onto that and it follows it around that turntable. That's why you get that really, really, really hot spot on one side, and you still got one spot that's pretty cold on the other side. When I program these ovens, I select my percentage of my fan, I select my percentage of my microwave, I select my time, and then I can also select steps, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. But if I'm running 50% microwave, what that means is I'm running 50% of the cook cycle. So I'm not locking on to one particular part of the food. I'm actually cycling the microwave on and off. So I'm finding different parts of that as well. These microwaves are also on stirs. They're not a fixed microwave. So you're constantly finding new parts of the food. So as a chef, when I used to hear the word microwave, it always made me freak out a little bit, but the technology has come a long way with speed ovens. We're going to do some simple food today. If you get a chance, make a visit to your rep kitchen. Come see us at NAFM in February. But I do shrimp. I'll do scallops. I've done several proteins in here. Not an issue. One of the things that comes up a lot is anything I can't cook. Really, you can cook anything in this oven. The only thing I'm struggling with at all, and I'll be 100% honest, is a fresh pasta lasagna. Only because you can't penetrate the sheets of pasta, but a rethermal lasagna, no problem. The only things I recommend you stay away from, that your customers should stay away from, is grease-laden proteins they're really heavy in grease. Raw burgers, raw chicken, and bacon. Some of those things, if you ran a sheet of bacon, or a sheet this size off and on, not an issue. If you're a breakfast place and you're running bacon through it all day long, the catalytic converter is basically superheated steel that vaporizes and when the grease particles hit the catalytic converter, it's basically vaporizing all those grease particles. Well, if you're doing a lot of grease-laden proteins, the catalytic converter will at some point will eventually get clogged because it can't keep up with that much grease migration. And if the grease gets in there and it starts to migrate, then it finds its way into components. Everything else, though, seafood, we're going to get into some of the market segments a little bit later. I know Tony was talking about the C stores, but these are showing up everywhere. I want to show you for the next thing I'm going to send to the oven. This oven, we're going to go into applications and I'm kind of explain as we go with food. You're basically breakfast concepts right now we're seeing a lot of these ovens take off in your coffee shops. If somebody comes in, grabs a cup of coffee and you want to increase the revenue, we've got these, you're sending out pastries, croissants, all those things that you can just warm up and you're out in about 20 seconds. Almost everything in these ovens is 2 minutes or less. If you start getting into a product that takes longer than 2 minutes, a very large protein, you're really defeating the purpose of the oven. So you really want, most every product is going to be 2 minutes or less. But breakfast and coffee shops has been a big market segment for us. The next thing I want to show you is breakfast item that I wouldn't normally serve at a breakfast place. You're going to have a traditional cook line, traditional equipment to send out breakfast. But the 24-hour room service in hotels and the healthcare industry, a lot of the healthcare world is looking at food service differently. They have been for several years. The patient requirements, a lot of times instead of the old days of just driving up your hot box with the meals and delivering stuff, the TV's in the room, the guest or a patient, I should say, can order whatever they want for lunch. And also the pods that are in assisted living facilities where you're spreading out different wings from assisted living to palliative care and everything else. You can have your pods have one oven and send out specific items. So the next item I'm going to show you, I want to show you a multi-step recipe. So the next one we're going to do is a breakfast sandwich with a hash brown. And what we're going to do is this is going to show me, I want to play a little bit of this up. This is going to show me the capabilities of the oven to do multiple items. What we're going to do with this one, I've got a pre-cooked frozen hash brown. So we're going to go back to our icon-driven recipes. I've got my gloves on. It's still no issue. We're going to go to our, I've got an egg sandwich and hash brown. So tell me to load the product in the oven. I'm going to start cooking. So that's going to cook for a while to get that hash brown nice and crispy and up to temp the way we want it. And then it's going to tell me my English muffin. And I'm going to also add sausage and egg and cheese combined. While we're talking, one of the other features of the oven, as I'm loading this stuff in, if you can see on my hands, all of our paddles come with this hand guard. So when I go to load stuff in the oven, I'm not potentially touching a 500-degree surface. These are cool to the touch. I can put my hands on here. Reason being, it's that catalyst technology. And then I'll also show you, I don't know if you can see it on this oven. The way MerryChef manufactures our ovens, you can see the seams right along the edges of the oven. That is on purpose. There is a small microscopic gap. That's there on purpose so that the fresh air that's sucked in under the oven is pushed back out through the sides. That keeps the sides of the oven cool. That keeps our components cool. And it also keeps the door handle cool because it's coming across here so you're not grabbing a hot door handle. Cool to the touch, but the surface of the oven is hot. And that's why you want to have that paddle here to protect the hand. While this is cooking, we'll talk about some of the accessories. The oven comes with these Teflon sheets. The reason I like these, and you've got your traditional pans, which I just put in the oven, is I'm going to do a pizza in a little while. We're going to cook on the stone. Okay, let me take a break. Tell me right now to add my muffin. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to add my English muffin in there. Go ahead, check. Going to cook for another 30 seconds, and it's going to tell me to add the eggs and proteins. This isn't practical, like I said, for a breakfast place, but I want you to see the multi-stage recipes and how this works.
I'm sorry, they don't hear you.
They did.
Yeah, you can't hear them.
Okay.
They can hear you.
All right. So they're telling me that you can't speak to me. Oh, I see a question on chat. Yeah, we may have to stick with chat until I can figure out what's going on with that. If you can send me a message in chat, I'll answer all your questions for sure. So right now it's telling me add the eggs and sausage. I've also got a slice of cheese. We're gonna add that to our item here. Oops. Put the sausage on top. We're gonna put that right in there on the muffin. Finish that up. See if I can get some audio here. So if you can see that, I basically have a toasted English muffin. I have a hash brown that is crispy and done, and I also have a sausage and egg McMuffin, which is basically toasted, warm, and ready to go. So I can build the sandwich. Now I'm going to show you all this and after we finish and have a breakfast item.
Can you hear me, Ken?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay. We're back in action. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Ken, quick question on the MerryChef over there to our left. Is that unit currently in Starbucks?
It's in some locations, yes.
Okay. Is that to compete with the soda?
Yes. Yeah, it's we've done some pretty extensive testing with them. I know you mentioned you know, some of the C-store business. These are in Wawa's along with our E4S. I don't know if there's any changes with that. Our E4S is in the Speedways. We've got these ovens are in Hyatt properties along. This is in the front of the house along with the E4S in the back of the house. Which the front of the house application brings me to a very good point about a selling feature with MerryChef over our competitors. We make one of the quietest ovens in the industry from a decibel level. Again, I mentioned they're available in stainless and carbon black. What a lot of hotels are doing, bars and restaurants, is they're putting these in the front of the house. So a limited bar menu, let's say at a Hyatt or at a hotel, I can get, you know, items prepped in the kitchen and have the bartender can load this oven up and have it come straight out of the oven, icon driven and ready to roll. And then they've got an E4S or 16 in the back now. It's a larger cavity for more production to send stuff out of the kitchen. But yes, these ovens are all over the place. There are some of these in Starbucks, and we're getting a lot of traction with that.
Quick question for you, Ken. Do you have quick question for you, Ken. Do you have the panini option on the other MerryChef?
We do. I do not have it here with me. We will definitely have it at NAFM coming in. I have it at Wellbuilt. I don't know if you had a chance to see it when we were just up at Wellbuilt's headquarters, but if you're familiar with the older one, there were hinges and a lot of moving parts. They did extensive testing on these, and obviously when you have a lot of moving parts like that, you have potential for failure. If I wish I had a chance to show you, and I could send you specs on it, Tony, and send you a video on it. But the new panini press, if I open it, it's basically a sandwiched gravity-fed press. So the way the peel works is the peel has a slope to it. So when I press in, it lifts the press up. As I load my product in, then when I slide the product out onto the press, it lowers it back down. Basically eliminated the moving parts. It's much more reliable and it's very, very slick. But I can send you information on that. I just don't have it in the oven now.
Well, Ken, the reason why I asked for that, because we did see it up when we did the tour up at Newport Richie, but it's a very important component for a lot of folks in the C-store business as far as making those paninis, because they come out crisp and hard and not soggy like you would normally get within a regular microwave.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I can get you any information you need on that, and obviously we can do some pretty extensive testing with your customers if need be. Just let me know.
Yeah, just send it to our marketing director.
Okay, you got it. Did you get your sandwiches? Everybody show up with food today? Want to make sure.
We got food.
Okay. Next thing I want to do, like I said, we talked about market segments. I talked about bars and late night menus, 24-hour room service in hotels. One of the other added benefits of equipment like this, these are showing up in every market segment possible. They start off more in the QSR world, but MerryChef is showing up everywhere now. And what customers are figuring out, or end users are figuring out, is as you know, peak periods in the middle of the day when they slow down, or in late hours of the night if you're a restaurant or a bar and you want to keep serving food in the late hours, you don't need a full cook line burning energy and a staff all night long. So a limited menu a lot of times will take place at 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. and carry on until the end of the night. But these menus give you, or these ovens give you the flexibility to add bar items, desserts, any kind of items you want, to have a limited menu. The other thing that we're really seeing a lot of with these ovens, it's obviously about consistency, but it's about speed of service and throughput. Uh, Before the pandemic, I think the numbers were somewhere around 70-30, maybe even higher, maybe 80-20. And diners who were eating in the restaurant to the other 20-30% was takeout. Well, obviously everything changed during the pandemic and we had a lot more takeout. Most people thought it would kind of go more back to normal, but it actually has not. The numbers are, 60-40. There's still a lot of takeout happening in today's market. With that being said, it's all about throughput and speed of service. A lot of people are alleviating bottlenecks in their kitchens with this equipment. We did a large rollout with an Italian chain, but they were doing a lot of stuff in their brick ovens. Visually, it's appealing. Visually, it looks great, but it was slowing down their speed of service. We added these ovens to pick up speed of service. We dropped a lot of their ticket times. Some of the items that were taking them 7, 8, 10 minutes, we're getting them out the door in 1 minute and 40 seconds. So it's all about throughput, speed of service, and flexibility, menu flexibility for the operators and end users. Real quick, and I'm gonna do just a real quick bang bang shrimp. I should probably change the name of that so I'm not infringing on the copyright. It's a bing bang shrimp. We're gonna send a few of these through.
Ken, what are some of the other chains that use the MerryChefs?
We've done just recently just did a smaller coffee chain in the area, rolling them out. I think 13 or 15 units. Like I said, the Italian chain that we did the large rollout with was Carrabba's. I work closely with the chef there. I can't speak for a lot of the chains in other parts of the country. I only know a lot of the ones that we've worked with here locally. I do know the ovens are they're everywhere, and this is one of our fastest growing market segments for the last 7 years, I would say. We think we continue to grow year over year with these ovens. They're showing up everywhere. But I can get you a list from the corporate chefs. I just don't know all of them in other parts of the country, mostly Florida. But I do know the big ones are, we did the Carrabba's, Hyatt Hotels, Wawa's, Speedway uses our E4S. Rebel just bought a bunch of those stores locally in Florida, but Speedway uses the ovens. And then we have a few other C-store concepts that are using it. The Starbucks obviously is the big name, but I'm gonna send this shrimp through. So I've got a pre-cooked breaded shrimp. It's basically like a popcorn shrimp. A late night bar menu. I'm gonna get this out in 1 minute and 20 seconds. Awesome. Yeah, it's the market segments, like I said, it's B&I, hotels. These are showing up everywhere right now. The bar menus and everything. People are. I think the other segment that took an interest to the speed ovens were bars during the pandemic, because during the pandemic, bars were not allowed to open unless they served food. We released our E1S, which is our entry level oven. It's a lower cost oven. Still a great oven, but a lot of bars looked at that technology because once they added a smaller menu, they were able to open for business. And that was a way to get them open. But once a lot of the bars did that, they realized with a simple menu and some pre-cooked products and some really high quality products you can get from the food brokers, you can serve a nice menu, 10, 15 items out of these ovens with limited talent. Entry level employees can operate this. Now it's beeping at me. Got my shrimp done. Basically gonna toss them in bang bang sauce. Really simple. Anybody wants to come over to Orlando, I'll have plenty of food left. Minute and 40 seconds for some bang bang shrimp to send out. Very simple. Hard to see that there, but I'm gonna plate all this up and I'm gonna show you that at the end. Question? Was there a question?
No.
Okay. Competition a lot of times comes up. I've got some notes that a lot of times the question is why MerryChef? Going back to some of the features and benefits of the MerryChef, I'm going to run a few more things through here, but quietest in the industry. We've got the largest cavity for the smallest footprint in the industry. One of the big things right now in stock. I don't always have everything in stock. Obviously, if you get something special like a panini press, that might change things. But MerryChef is very good at stocking the equipment. So from a lead time perspective, we're very, very quick to get these out. Very, very easy to operate, intuitive controls. In my opinion, these are very simple to operate. Basically, you pick a time, percentage of microwave, and the fan speed, and you're on your own. You're on your way. But those are some of the easy to clean. I'm going to go through the cleaning process after we're finished up here, but again, the cove corners and the lift out cook plate, you basically have an oven cleaner and an oven protector. And I can tell you how all that works at the end of the presentation for the cleanup. Very easy to operate. But one of the big features right now, like I said, we're zero clearance, easier to operate, easier to clean, in stock, and we got these price points to match our competitors. So.
Hey, Ken, hold on a second.
Yes.
Ken, hold on a second. I just want to interject here real quick that MerryChef is a part of Wellbuilt, and the Wellbuilt Corporation and MerryChef are an IFED, whereas Brand T is not. And one of the things I want to point out about MerryChef right now is that we have 100% accessibility to all the folks at corporate. If there's ever a problem, you work through your local reps, which all branches have local reps, and they hopefully are at there with the sandwiches. Thank you. But the biggest thing is MerryChef, we have recourse, which is basically if something does go wrong. I'm not saying something is going to go wrong. I'm just saying if something does go wrong, we have the factory network, and then we have corporate who views IFED as a loyal partner and will do everything to help us. Brand T, I will tell you right now, in my opinion, has gotten too big for their britches. They are no longer service-driven. If you've ever had to deal with them, if you don't ship it on their freight lines and you ship it on your freight lines and it comes in damaged, bless you, child, trying to get that returned or get a warranty service call or any claim on it. So right now, aside from all the wonderful features and benefits that MerryChef has, please understand they are in IFED. They are a partner of ours. We want to drive our business to MerryChef. And just like I say, for those of us who have to deal on the side of fixing problems, this is also our best friend when it comes to, quote, those few times when things do go wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. That's great points for sure. I did want to mention one thing. The Connex 16 and the 12 are going to eventually phase out the E4S. We still have the E4S in stock. We're going to be selling those ovens for quite a while. But I did want to mention, I usually mention this in the training because if you have somebody that's out there searching the online world and they see a MerryChef E3 or an E5, those two ovens, if you can remember the odd numbers, the 3 and the 5, are the two ovens that only utilize two technologies. They're only using microwave and convection. They do not have the ability to control the fan speed with impingement. So if you have a customer that's shopping, which they should never do, but if they are and they come back and say, well, I found this E3 or E5 and it costs X amount of dollars less than the one you're quoting, please make sure they're aware that you're gonna get faster performance in a convection oven, but you're gonna get nowhere near the performance of the the Connex 16, the Connex 12, the E2S or the E4S. Again, the E3 and the E5 are only two technologies. But are there any other questions or anything you want me to cover? I would like to try and show a couple more items. I think we've got about 10 or 15 minutes left. I'm going to send a pizza through. I really just want you to see the speed, the flexibility of the oven. You send that through. So again, going to some of the accessories, if I wanted to do a sandwich or something and I wanted a nice toast on it, but I don't want the cheese to melt onto the surface of the cook plate and make a mess, nachos is another thing. I can slide this off on there, slide that off and put my nachos onto a plate. But if I want really good surface contact, flatbreads and pizzas and things like that, I will cook them right on the cook plate. Anything that you want a little bit less transfer of heat, we'll use the solid baskets is the way MerryChef refers to them. Let me send this pizza through. And again, I'm going to put this right on the cook plate. Slide right off on the cook plate. That way I get the maximum amount of browning and crispiness on the bottom of the pizza. I have one other item I think I was going to send through. I've got a dessert. There's another item that's the flexibility with these ovens gives the ability to add menu items. It's one of the things I keep wanting to reiterate is these ovens were originally designed, specifically for QSRs. They're sending out a few items quickly, but this can alleviate bottlenecks in a kitchen. It can give you menu flexibility. If you want to add a seasonal item, if you want to add a bar item, or if you want to add a dessert, you can send stuff like that through these ovens pretty quickly. Any other questions while we're in the remaining time? I don't know. I've got chat open as well. If there's anything I haven't answered in chat, I will answer them all at the end of this. While this is finishing the pizza, which we were, I think, 1:40 for this frozen pizza.
Quick
cleaning in
question
the
for
oven,
you.
again. Yes.
Yeah, quick question for you. So it's programmable by USB?
It is programmed by USB. Like I said, the Connex ovens, it can be done through Wi-Fi, but it is always available to be manually programmed to USB if a customer doesn't want to utilize the Wi-Fi. Correct. And there is software that is available to download from MerryChef's website. Whenever I work with customers, I'll add all my pictures, write all my recipes and programs, put them on a USB on a thumb drive, and then load them in the oven. It's a lot easier than trying to do it all right there on the controller. It's coming out in
Hey,
15
Ken,
seconds. But
just a heads up.
yes.
I guess it looks like the St. Louis rep is missing in action.
Missing in action.
As in not there. Just an
Okay.
FYI.
Thank you. I want to make sure I know. Thank you. Again, you can see the browning. It's nice and hot. The bottom of this. If you look at the bottom of this, cooking on that cook plate, nice and crispy. And I can even cut it up and it's good to go. That's 1:40. So all of this is stuff that can really, really expand your menu and increase revenue for your customers. I'll send a dessert through because we can't have a meal without a dessert. Did you get brownies today? Over there? I think we picked those up.
Yes, we got brownies.
So I've got a setting for a fruit pie. This is basically a fruit pastry. I'm going to send this through. Again, I can do a lot of fresh items in here. I can do shrimp. I can do scallops. They come out really nice. I've done spanakopita in here. I've done lamb chops. I've done a little bit of everything. In the essence of time, I wanted to show you a bunch of items today, but this is going to be again almost everything. The service, consistency, and throughput. Put this up. While it's
Ken, is this
finishing up, I'm
traditionally
gonna,
something
I'm
that's
just
gonna
gonna
be under a hood? Ken, is this traditionally gonna
You
be
do not
under a
have to
hood?
have this under a hood. No. If you ever need it, we don't really get any pushback on these ovens, but if you do need it, the ovens are UL, K, and LZ certified ventless. We have all the documentation and all the, things that are required. If you have to give them to an inspector, but they are not required to be underneath the hood. 20 seconds. Pick this up.
Inquiring minds.
Last but not least, we have a fruit pastry. I've got a nice crust on there, and that's controlled by fan speed, and I got the internal temperature right there, nice and bubbly and ready to go. That was 1 minute and 40 seconds. So in about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 10 to 12 minutes, we've done 5 items worth of food. So gives you an idea of the flexibility. And I don't know if you can hear me when the camera goes out or not. I keep shutting off, but gives you an idea of the flexibility of the oven for adding menu items. And last but not least, I do want to go over the cleaning procedures because we have one of the easiest ovens to clean in the industry. If I want to go into a clean setting, I basically hit the clean button. If you want, I can zoom in on the screen or I can tell you about it. But basically, the screen will tell you to assemble what you need. It tells you to wear your PPE gear, your gloves, and all those things you need for safety. Leave the door slightly open, it tells me. Wants to cool the oven down to 122 degrees. I can do this 2 ways. The oven comes with this hotel pan, so I can put ice in here, and I can set the oven up to cool with ice or without. And basically, what it'll do is it'll cool down to 122 degrees. Once it does that, it'll tell you to take the cook plate out. It'll tell you on the instructions to take your oven cleaner. You take the oven cleaner and you spray it on a towel, wipe down the insides of the oven. The only thing you don't want to do is spray it into the back of the oven. But once you spray the oven and wipe it down, it suggests to leave the cleaner on there for 10 or 15 minutes. So that way it has time to activate and work. And then this next step, it'll tell you to wipe down the cleaner and apply the protector. The protector is another, it's basically like a mineral oil that protects the oven cavity. And then it'll tell you at the end of that to wipe that down. It'll tell you to remove the filter and to wipe it all down. Again, that's one of the preventative measures to keep the oven from overheating and destroying the magnetrons. And after all that checklist is done, you hit yes and the oven shuts itself down. But the oven also has a startup procedure that's built into the oven now that was not existent in the previous generations. So when this oven is fresh out of the box, it's got an updated packaging. It's much easier to locate everything. Everything's neatly packed away in the box and the crate. But when you turn the oven on, it will actually does its own systems check. It will go through, it will ask you to open and close the door, check the door mechanisms and the closing mechanisms. It will run the heater elements, it will run the fans, and it'll run the diagnostics on every single thing on the oven before it turns itself on the first time. And that's where you set up your Wi-Fi connectivity and all that. A lot of new upgrades and features in this new oven. And the 16-inch cavity is a home run, in my opinion. I think this is going to be a very, very popular oven. Any other questions? How much time we have? A few more minutes left. Any other questions?
We're good here.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed today's session. I hope it was useful. If you have any outstanding questions, please feel free to email me or reach out to Tony and I'll get the questions answered. I'll get the Panini Press info over to you. And any other questions or anything help. As Tony mentioned before, in our market, I can't speak for the reps in other territories. I know that we all have our own test kitchens. Reach out to your local reps if you'd like further demonstrations and some more familiarity with the oven and the equipment. And if not, hopefully we'll see you all at NAFM.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. If you're at a location and did not get a local rep coming by with lunch, please email me and let me know, because we've got lunch here. I want to make sure as we go forward that everybody gets this lunch because it's part of a lunch and learn. It's just not a learn. Thank you for everything, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, gang. Bye. Now, the
Thanks,
biggest
Kenny.
thing is,
Thank you.
you know where he's waiting for?